After millions of years since our ancestors figured out how to use fire and invented the wheel, humans have truly reached the stars and begun their journey to space exploration. But to come to that success, many astronauts have left their precious lives while trying to unravel what is hidden deep in the universe. Space exploration is always a very dangerous mission. Many astronauts have lost their lives due to catastrophic accidents during these special missions. On January 27, 1967, the whole U.S. was headed for the historic space mission, with the participation of the crew consisting of 3 American space talents. The first one is Lieutenant Colonel Gus Grissom. The second one is the main pilot Ed White, an American who first went into space. The last one is pilot Roger B. Chaffee. All of them were commissioned to conduct a simulated Apollo 1 test launch at the Kennedy Space Center launch pad. If this test is successful, Apollo 1 will officially be launched into space as scheduled on February 21, 1967. This is considered the first manned space mission of the United States in particular, and the world in general. The test was deemed non-hazardous because neither the launcher nor the Apollo 1 spacecraft were refueled, and all missile systems were disabled. However, all 3 astronauts were killed after an incident that caused a fire to break out in their command module during a test launch at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Florida, USA. The cause of the fire was that an electric spark was accidentally created in the chamber containing pure oxygen, causing everything to explode. Unexpected errors in the design stage also made it impossible for the rescue team to open the exit door in time to save the lives of the ill-fated astronauts. Immediately after the devastating fire of Apollo 1 occurred, the director of NASA urgently asked then U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson to allow the agency to secretly investigate the cause of the incident and promised to report truthfully the whole thing before making it known to the public. The Apollo mission after the devastating events of Apollo 1 on January 27, 1967, changed completely later. 18 months after the accident that killed 3 American astronauts, NASA has again carried out a mission to send people to the moon. And they succeeded. To commemorate the merits of the 3 Apollo 1 astronauts, the Americans solemnly placed the bodies of Commander Gus Grissom and pilot Roger Chaffee at Arlington National Cemetery. Pilot Ed White is buried at West Point Cemetery on the campus of the United States Military Academy in West Point, New York. The aerospace race between the Soviet Union and the United States in the late 1960s gave both the necessary boost. However, it also caused unintended damage. And one of them was the accident that claimed the life of Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov. At that time, the Soyuz 1 mission was launched only 3 months after the Apollo 1 disaster, in the context of the Soviet Union fearing the US would lead in the space race, so it rushed to find a way to send pilot Vladimir Komarov to the moon. However, an incident occurred, causing one of the 2 solar panels to power the ship to fail. Soviet authorities at the time canceled the launch of the second module and then directed Komarov to return to Earth. During the return flight, when it reached an altitude of 23,000 feet, the ship's parachute continued to have another problem and could not open. As a result, Komarov plummeted to the ground and died in a terrifying explosion, making him the first person to die in a spaceflight. Three cosmonauts Georgy Dobrovolsky, Vladislav Volkov and Viktor Patsayev flew into space aboard Soyuz 11 to perform a docking mission and enter Salyut 1. Salyut is a Soviet space station located in the Fund 2 months earlier. On June 30th, they left Salyut 1 and began their journey back to Earth. However, 3 astronauts were found dead aboard the Soyuz 11 spacecraft due to depressurization when the spacecraft re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. Everything was going well, until they left Salyut 1 on June 30th and began their journey back to Earth. As the astronauts began to separate the re-entry capsule from the rest of the Soyuz spacecraft, a vital valve opened. At an altitude of hundreds of kilometers above Earth, the Soyuz spacecraft suddenly fell into the near-gravity environment of space. As the spacecraft depressurized rapidly, cosmonaut Patsayev tried to close the manually opened valve but failed. Minutes later, all 3 astronauts were dead. The cause of death was asphyxiation. On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger performed the STS-51L mission, launched the TDRS-B satellite and implemented the Teacher in Space program. NASA hoped that sending a teacher into space would increase public interest in the Space Shuttle program, and also demonstrate the reliability of spaceflight at a time when the agency was under continuous pressure to find financial support. After 73 seconds, the ship exploded in the sky over the Atlantic Ocean, Central Florida at 11:38 p.m. All 7 crew members died. The cause of this disaster was low temperatures at night, which damaged the rubber seals in the boosters. This incident caused a leak of high-pressure hot gas inside the rocket, which then blew directly into the external fuel tank and adjacent sections. This is the second space shuttle disaster that occurred after the Challenger spacecraft exploded upon launch in 1986. On January 16, 2003, Columbia began its STS-107 flight to the ISS, carrying 7 astronauts. On February 1, 2003, while returning to Earth, a piece of foam insulation broke off from Columbia's fuel tank and slammed into the left wing edge of this space shuttle. The entire crew was killed. After making its first flight in 1981, the U.S. Space Shuttle Columbia proved it to be an extremely safe ship and able to take on special missions. However, on February 1, 2003, the Columbia had a problem that caused it to break up while preparing to land at 203,000 feet, 61,900 meters, after a 16-day space mission, leaving all 70 astronauts on board was killed. After analyzing the wreckage of the Columbia, the investigation team found that the astronauts turned on many buttons in the cabin shortly after the sirens sounded. They also tried to restart the ship's automatic control system, but were unable to successfully survive. NASA dedicated Day of Remembrance to commemorate 3 memorable tragedies in the agency's history, including Apollo 1 Challenger and Columbia. History forever remembers the great contributions of space heroes. Thanks to them, not only Americans, but also mankind have made great strides in space exploration. Thank you for watching today's video. If you find this video good, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support ASK KPOP Entertainment to make more exciting videos.